This is James Dator from CatScratchReader.com taking a look at the 2013 Carolina Panthers free agency. Well, while the rest of the league is preparing to go out and sign their own players and maybe make a splash here or there, the Carolina Panthers are cash-strapped. After parting ways with former general manager Marty Herney last year, new GM Dave Gettleman has a lot of work to do. The Panthers' adherence to re-signing their own talent, bringing back guys like John Beeson, Ryan Khalil, Jonathan Stewart, and James Anderson, may have done a lot to keep homegrown talent in this team. However, overall, they have no room to make moves. Instead of talking about the mid-level guys the Panthers could and should go after, today we're going to be looking at a few names that would have fit in perfectly if only there was money to spend. It begins with Pittsburgh Steelers free agent wide receiver Mike Wallace. He is everything this Carolina Panthers team could use. Opposite Steve Smith, this offense has been desperate for another deep threat. Brandon LaFell is a reliable receiver with clutch ability, especially on third downs. However, he does not have the game-breaking speed needed to catch those deep balls from Cam Newton on a regular basis. Enter Mike Wallace. As Steve Smith heads off into the sunset of his career, Wallace would have been the perfect player to plug into this offense. No, he's not the same player as Smith, but he has that similar ability to get behind defensive backs and catch passes 50 and 60 yards down the field. We've seen this over time in Pittsburgh working with Ben Roethlisberger, and despite what people think about Cam Newton, it's Roethlisberger who he most resembles as a quarterback. He uses that big arm and his escapability in the pocket to heave it downfield, and having a guy like Wallace would have changed everything. Alas, it can't be. Then you come to the Panthers' defensive tackle position. It's been their Achilles heel for the last 3 seasons and woefully underrepresented in the draft. However, they had the perfect opportunity here to bring former New York Giants defensive tackle Chris Canty into the fold. Canty was interested in the Panthers. He said on local radio that he'd be willing to take a pay cut to come and play for the organization. But even with a pay cut, they simply don't have the money to afford his services. Now he's meeting with the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs, and he will likely find a home somewhere else, someone that they can pay him closer to his ability. This would have been an opportunity for the Panthers to at least solidify their defensive line for a little while. Canty's no spring chicken, but the Panthers are going to need time and through the draft to slowly build their defensive tackles again. As it stands with Ron Edwards gone, and with Dwan Edwards still as a potential free agent, this team looks like they could be entering the 2013 season with Andre Neblett and Sione Fua as your defensive tackles. Obviously, it probably won't come to that, and the Panthers will indeed re-sign Dwan Edwards, but that's the fear. Plugging Canty in would have been a perfect opportunity. Finally, there's Jake Long. The Miami Dolphins offensive tackle looks to be leaving as the two sides can't agree on a long-term contract, and the Dolphins aren't willing to pay him top money. Jordan Gross is still a middle-tier offensive tackle. He's been fantastic overall for the Panthers over the last decade, but time is catching up with him. Now on the other side of 30, really, this team can expect 2 to 3 more years out of Gross max, and you're slowly seeing that his foot speed is deteriorating a little bit, and it's just natural. This happens with time. While Jake Long is not the perfect franchise left tackle, he's extremely good and would have been the perfect player to plug in this offense and protect Cam Newton's blind side for the next 6 to 7 years. Again, though, there's no money to spend. It's likely this team will part way with Chris Gamble before the March 12th deadline to try and find a way to get back under the salary cap. They have severe issues all over the field, and they can't really address them. Unfortunately, as free agency comes and goes, the best you can expect out of Carolina are maybe a mid-tier guy here or there. Someone like Louis Delmas of the Detroit Lions, or Knighton, the defensive tackle out of Jacksonville, but don't expect to see any of these big names coming to Charlotte. It's a tough situation. Dave Gettleman's going to have to get everything back under wraps, but it's just going to take time and patience from fans. This team plans to build through the draft, and unfortunately that could take a while.